Proton pump inhibitors. These little puppies are ranked second for worldwide sales for a single class of drugs. They are extremely common, and in the pharmacy I worked at, the entire aisle was full of PPIs. What they don't tell you in the advertisements and what have you, for example, about the purple pill, is that they're one of the most dangerous drug classes, especially when consumed for extended periods of times in older adults. These powerful acid suppression drugs were a huge breakthrough following the discovery of histamine 2 blockers. Example, Tagamet. Anybody remember when Tagamet was first introduced? It was like, wow, we have arrived. Before that, I'd go into the intensive care units of Montefiore or Harper Hospital and places I worked at, or University Hospital in Columbus. And and on the intensive care unit, I'd see all these white lips, and I'd said to the attending, why do all the residents have white lips when we go on rounds? He says, it's because of all the antacids they're taking. They used to titrate the antacids to get that stomach acid down to prevent stress ulcer. Well, that fell completely by the wayside when they came out with histamine 2 blockers, example Tagamet, and then the proton pump inhibitors. Do you remember those days?
I remember the sickly diet.
What's that?
You had to alternate milk and cream, milk.
Oh yeah, yeah. So now for the first time, thanks to PPIs, we have drugs like Prilosec, Prevacid, Protonix, Acifix, and Nexium that you can actually slow down the production of acid from the stomach. PPIs are approved for a variety of uses, including GERD, gastric and duodenal ulcer, dyspepsia, heartburn, esophagitis, Zollinger-Ellison syndrome, and are used to prevent GI bleeds with the use of NSAIDs. Unfortunately, studies have shown that at least half of the people taking PPIs don't even have the condition the drug was designed to treat. Again, people walking down the aisle, they feel a little upset, so they grab the PPI. To complicate matters even further, PPIs were tested and approved for short-term treatment of GERD. And I underline the word short-term. Yet many people take them for much longer periods of time, much longer than the recommended 4 to 8 weeks. It's not uncommon for you to run into a nursing home patient, find out the background. They've been on PPIs for 15 years, ever since they were left out. Hospital admissions actually have a policy. If you look at most hospitals, if you're going to have surgery, they will put you on a PPI as per protocol, because they don't want you getting a stress ulcer, because if they get a stress ulcer, the compensation to the hospital under DRGs is cut. So and what happens too is when you get discharged from the hospital, again, you were started on PPI for prophylaxis of stress ulcer, but what happens is these PPIs just stay. So they'll be 5, 6, 7 years, and why are you on this drug? And the client will say, well, I was put on it in the hospital. And the primary care doctors just let it ride. So long-term care treatment of proton pump inhibitors is a bad thing. And when you think about it, what long-term use of PPIs do is it's basically changing the physiology that the body is supposed to have. The stomach is supposed to be acidic. Okay, that's the way we were designed. And if you change that acidic environment to something that's now basic, a lot of bad things happen. And yet many people continue to take them. Long-term use of PPIs by the elderly are associated with serious effects including vitamin B12 deficiency, bone fractures, hypomagnesemia, increased risk of pneumonia and C. diff, increased risk of adenocarcinoma, and interactions with over 100 medications. When I went online to clinicalpharmacology.com, which is a website that I use for my professional consulting, I counted over 100 drug-drug interactions with PPIs. Now for the worst news. Trying to stop or get off a PPI is very difficult. What happens is, studies have shown that when you're on a PPI for a month or more, the stomach now begins to make even more acid than when you began using the PPI, and this effect is known as a rebound hypersecretion of gastric acid. And it requires a lot of patience and multiple attempts of gradual reduction. I had to educate our physicians in the nursing home that they said, Don, I tried cutting that person off of their proton pump inhibitor, 40 milligrams, and got rid of it, and the patient was complaining of GERD really, really bad, so I put him back on it. I said, you didn't read my consult. I said, gradual taper. So cut the 40 milligrams from twice a day to once a day. Do that for a month. Cut it then down to the 20 milligrams for another month, then 10 milligrams for another month. So you gotta go really slow, otherwise that acid will just start shooting back twice as much.